Bink, hello and welcome to Inside News with Dale Matthews and Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hello, Dale Matthews. Yes, I was giving him the high sign, but he didn't believe me
No,
that
it's not
we
that.
were really on air.
I'm so used to that Bink that, well, a little bit of news right at the very top, and then we're going to play Bill Ertl and what he had to say at the candidates forum, alone without comment. So, today I talked with Harriet Harris on the telephone, and I've talked with Raymond Smith, and the three of us have decided that we're going to take less money if any of us is elected as county commissioner. Good luck with that. And I talked to Harriet about it, and I said, one of the things I see in the charter is that the people, our local constitution, the people chose that you're supposed to get 30,000. Now, anybody that does this job could say, "Oh, I'll take nothing," but it's the charter that says, "Here's what we want you to do." So she, oh,
Mhm.
okay, yes, I understand your point. She's taken that class and everything. We did a whole series of shows about the charter, and I got some feedback from one of the former commissioners that was, "You're lying, you're lying, you're a liar, liar, liar." What's the problem? Well, it's impossible to do. No, it's not. Well, and then you would end up owing money. No, no, no. You take in the entire amount, you pay the taxes out of the entire amount, and then whatever's left over, you take your 30, and then you give the rest to charity, right? And, "Oh, you're a liar, such a liar." Whatever. But it shows that it's kind of a sensitive topic. There are a number of things that commissioners in the past, Dwight Ellis, Dave Toller, other people in the past, did not do that they could have done. They just didn't. So, yeah, you know you're getting close to something when somebody's that sensitive to it.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So our first person today is to playback is a video of Bill Ertl from that Friday when Mike put on the Inside News Candidates Forum. Bill?
Following the Navy, I have a lot of respect for the Navy. They have one of the best shuffleboard teams in the military, and they're really good at it. And they have nice, clean uniforms, and they get to live in air-conditioned barracks. So thank you, Harriet, for your service. This is a little inter-military fun here. My name's Bill Ertl. I live in Williams, Oregon. I moved here about 10 years ago. I think Josephine County is the best damn place to live in the whole world. I've traveled. I feel so at home here, and I love the people. There are good people every place I go. I happen to be a realtor, so I bump into a lot of people. Good people, honest people. I'm probably on my third, Dale can help me. I'm probably on my third cycle of commissioners now. Starting with Dwight Ellis, somebody like that. And if you listen to the rhetoric, 3 generations of commissioners, some ex-commissioners are here today, are lousy individuals. They've made bad decisions. They deceived the public. They weren't transparent. And it goes on and on and on. I don't believe there are that many bad commissioners. What I think is the system is bad. And the reason we don't trust our commissioners is because not that they were bad people, but the county organization creates an environment where there's an opportunity for bad trust. So number one on my agenda is to rewrite the county charter. Now there's a group of us that have been going through it line by line, hour by hour, sort of a technical analysis. It's a good charter, but it was written for another time. It was written for a time when this county was rich in timber receipts. It was written in a time when we were primarily one industry. In today's world, in Josephine County, we have many economies. We have a robust health industry here. We have a robust manufacturing industry of pretty high quality. You'd be surprised. I belong to the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm always amazed at the little niche manufacturing operations around here. And this locale, this town, we have Taylor Sausages, world renowned. They do a great job. We have Dutch Brothers Coffee. Wow, what an enterprise, right in our own county. So I'm going to be working hard for you in your county, and I really believe we should have 5 commissioners. And I've thought about that for a long time. But one of the reasons we have a mistrust is that we don't have a feel for our local commissioner. And the commissioners rotate their assignments every 12 months or so. So if I have a problem, I don't know who to call. Do I call Simon? Do I call Keith? Do I call Cheryl? And really, I have to be honest, I've thought for a long time we really have a 4th commissioner. And he's probably the guy that attends all the meetings. He's always attended more meetings than any of the commissioners, and probably would be the good place to start. So I think we need to rewrite our county charter, stick to all the basic principles. There's some good ideas in there, but 5 commissioners. Right now, I'm thinking of geographic commissioners, and probably following along the Three Rivers School District, so we could have a commissioner for the Illinois Valley. We'd have one for the North Valley. We could have one for the Hidden Valley, and we give that scumbag city 2 commissioners, okay? And we've all heard tonight how the city tries to run over the county. So that's number 1 on my agenda. Number 2 is sort of falls into the area of jobs. I think we should think about Highway 199 as being an economic avenue to our county. And sure, yeah, we have exits right off of I-5, but we have the first major highway from the coast into our county and connecting with I-5. That has to be of great value, and we should exploit that to the full extent we can.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm not in favor of taking road money to support public safety. And the reason I'm not in favor of that, it's another heroin. We know that we are in this problem today because we were on the heroin of timber receipts. Now that's gone. We were on school secure rules, federal substance.
Hey, Bill.
That's gone. And I'm winding up here. Yeah. If I hadn't taken so much time with the Navy, I would have been finished. Okay. So that's the 3 things. I'm Bill Ertl. I'm from Williams. I've been dabbling around for about 4 or 5 years now in county politics. I'd make a great commissioner.
Any questions for Bill?
None. Thank you.
Come on up there.
Only question I have for you, Bill, and you know I like you.
I didn't
In
know
order
that.
to, we got 3 county commissioners. We cannot even get 2 good ones out of 3. How are we going to get 3 out of 5? So 5 commissioners is not the answer. The answer is to get 2 good county commissioners that will serve the public and do what's right. And 5, it's impossible to get 3 out of 5.
Okay,
The
thank you
law
for
of
that.
large numbers
Thanks for
would
that
work for
question.
us.
Next there.
I'm Bill Wagner, and Bill,
Thank you, Bill.
I've worked with you before, but there's one thing I need to ask you. You're working on the home rule charter with Chambers?
No, it's a completely independent group, and right now all we're doing is what I call a technical thing. We meet every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Right now we're meeting in the Republican headquarters because it's free. John Chambers is kind of our group leader, and we're reading it sentence by sentence,
Right.
line by line. And honest, it's taken forever because when you read the county charter in 2 or 3 sentences, you have an hour's discussion and it goes like, what in the world does that mean? Yeah. So I'm empathetic to even the
hang on, Bill.
commissioners.
Let's see if the guy has a question here. Did you have-
Yes, my
did you have-
question is this: has the subject come up in rewriting the home rule charter that you're going to put a plank in there to saddle us with a county manager? Has that come up?
That hasn't come up.
Will you stop them and tell them that I'm tired of fighting that issue? I've done it 3 times and come victorious. We don't want county managers, so use your influence to stop them.
So noted. Thank you.
Okay, quickly. One more here.
3 commissioners are kind of expensive, and if they're in long enough, they get PERS. What can you do to keep the costs down with 5?
Oh my gosh,
Oh my
thank
gosh.
you. Key point, our budget's about $80 million. We're no bigger than some school districts. I don't think a county commissioner should be paid. I don't see any reason why, just like I served as an Army reservist, it should be a public duty, and it would take part of the filtering out of it. So right now, no pay for county commissioners. And this is Bill talking, this is obviously going to be a food fight that we'll have to endure. But
Thanks very much.
on that, just a comment on that. When you think about it, school board members don't get paid, and they put in a lot of time. If you're a Oregon House representative, you get 20 grand a year. 20 grand a year to be a state level officer. And here, help me, Paul or somebody said a county commissioner gets about 100 grand, about 100 grand with bonuses. and
Thanks
all that.
very much, Bill. Bill Ertle.
United States Army. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Keep in mind that on Wednesday, the local public safety coordinating committee, LIPSIC, meets again. And if you want to know anything about where and when that's going to be, you can send an email to the following address, the following email address, and we'll be happy to clue you in about where to go. And there it is. Almost. It's coming. And Mike?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
I thought you were going to pop up some address. I didn't know.
Sorry, but
In the future, if you'd like me to put our email address on, just ask me to put the email address on, and I'll do this.
I
right
would
here.
like you to put the email address on. Thank you.
Hey, what do you know? There you
Yes. And send us an email here if you want to show up for that, or you can call me, or you can talk to a couple other people about where and when that's going to be. I'll be there with the camera. And we will show you what it is that they have to say. Supposedly, 3 representatives are going to show up. That would be our state senator and 2 House members. Carl Wilson and Dwayne Stark are supposedly going to show up, and then we already know what they're going to say, but it'll be interesting to hear if anybody brings up the fact that there are people in Washington, D.C. that are working on this problem counter exactly the opposite of what we've been told. Mike?
Yeah. Now, I wonder, I would assume that since they did a fair amount of talking about this in the last meeting, that maybe they're going to quantify somehow what is the minimum required or necessary level of public safety funding.
That would be great, but I don't think they're going to do that. I'm going to predict they're going to skate right past that issue because those are facts and figures, and they are not prepared with any facts or figures. They're prepared with a lot of heart palpitations, and they're absolutely sure of themselves, but they have no facts to back themselves up with.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so tonight we're going to be looking at the most interesting political body in the whole area, the Grants Pass City Council. But they are talking about something that's pretty important, which is how are they going to fund jail beds? Is it going to stay the way that it was? Is it going to change? And Mike and I can jump in at any time. This meeting is from March 21, so it was just a week ago. And as soon as today's meeting is posted, we'll bring that up. It's mostly going to be about branding, but at least this is a fairly important issue, which is, and Roy Lindsay has a lot to say about it. You'll see that. So here's the introduction to the Grants Pass City Council workshop where no citizens are allowed to speak, and from March 21.
Next thing up is jail services utility fees. Finance Director Jay Meredith has a presentation for us.
Good afternoon, City Council. So I'm going to talk just real quickly about the history of how we've funded this contract in the last few years, just as a reminder. So just as a quick history, in the first year of the contract, which was 13 to 14, we reduced some of the resources in some of the city's capital projects. And we also took some money from the ending fund balance in the general fund. We kind of split that up, and that's how we provided the financial resources for the first year of the contract. It was supposed to be just a temporary contract. So when we moved into the second year and there was an ongoing need to provide resources to an ongoing contract, there was then the utility fee was implemented, and in that second year of the contract, the utility fee covered most of the cost of the contract.
Now, okay, that's interesting. Two things that he said. One is it was going to be temporary just for 1 year. They promised us it was just for 1 year.
Okay, so hang on a second. Is anybody shocked here? Anybody?
No,
Let's have a show of hands in the audience. Who's surprised by this? Didn't I just talk about this last night?
Right. A fee is a tax. Oh, they can call it fee. They can call it a cherry pie.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you call it.
Right.
The impact is the same.
And how did they get away with this tax? Why? They put it on your water bill. Wait a minute. Why are jail beds on my water bill? Because you were forced to pay your water bill, or they can turn it off.
Well, because your faucet holds back the water and the jail holds back criminals.
Hey,
so,
okay. Well, that's pretty witty. And look, the thing
is, as close as I could get.
They have direct control and they don't need your vote. They don't need your vote. We've been talking about this. No, you've never heard us say this. We've been talking about this a lot. They don't need your vote. And anything they can do without asking for your vote, you idiot voters, they're going to do it, especially when it is about getting money out of your pockets. They'll turn you upside down and rifle through your sofas, but they're going to get that money. And they don't want to vote about it.
And it ought to be understood, because we've talked about it a number of times on this program, and they have said it a number of times, that ultimately this fee is going to have to go up at some point. The idea that it's going to go away, that's just silliness. I mean, it's here now. So why would you, it's a stream of money. Why would they throw it away? No, it's going to stay, and not only that, it's going to go up. It's going to be higher. So, well,
look, one important thing in their defense. Let's be fair. On this? Yes. One important thing is, with 80% of the crime happening in Grants Pass in the entire county, 85%, and not going down, even though they've got full funding for this, that, and the other thing. I can understand how they'd want to be sure they had jail beds, even though it kind of doesn't match with what their initial impressions were. And you heard, because we played it for you, the city police chief, kind of like that guy, saying, well, we thought we were running the wheels off our cars, and it turns out actually we weren't. They thought they were while they were doing it, and they weren't. But I can understand how they would want the jail beds. Okay, I get that. But one of the problems is, one, they promised it would not be renewed. 2, oh, well, this isn't going to go up. Sure it is. 3, they're going to keep doing it. And that's the big problem with government, is it never stops. They never stop pushing you.
Listen,
money. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. I'm from California. I knew this going in. It's not like I ever thought when they were talking about this that it wasn't going to be a permanent thing. I knew as soon as we had it, it was going to be a permanent thing. There is no such thing as a temporary funding stream in government.
No, and look, more important, not by much, but more important, is it's not public safety. Oh, that's our number one. Now, Our number one problem is credibility of government, people not having faith in their government. And if you told us up front the reason for it and the fact that it was going to stick around and go up, maybe we wouldn't have voted for it back when you were tolerating votes as Americans. But you didn't do that, did you? And you have no regard for the people. And this is what happens to you. Well, but you don't understand. No, you don't understand. If we don't trust you, we're not going to give you money. And you're going down the same exact path that the commissioners have gone down to, and they've like the Hindenburg, they've crashed and burned, and we've already said goodbye to one. We're about to say goodbye to another, and if we can marginalize the third, we will. Listen to this story from the people if you think you can hear it. I don't think they can hear it, Mike. I don't think they're hearing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what they say.
It's not playing in their world. No,
it's not at all. They're just talking to each other. Okay, so here's more about what to do about the jail services utility fee on your water bill.
And then in the current fiscal year, the utility fee doesn't cover the entire cost of the contract, but it covers all except $200,000 of the $972,000 annual contract. And so the utility fee was reduced a little bit this year with some one-time savings that we identified during the budget process last year.
Really? Why?
So the basic options, the main options for funding next year's contract are these four options, which is number one would be to fully fund the contract with a jail services utility fee. Number two would be to keep the utility fee rates the same as they are today and supplement the contract with $200,000 of funding, just like we did in the current year. The third would be lower the jail services utility fee and provide a higher subsidy from another revenue source. And then of course, there's an option of just letting the utility fee sunset, discontinuing that, and finding another revenue source to pay for next year's contract. So I'm going to talk about each one of these options just in a little bit more detail.
Yes. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, of those four, I wonder what they're going to pick.
Gee, I wonder which one Roy Lizzie decided that he wants. Which one of those options? Number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Yeah, I wonder. Okay.
Whatever costs the most money.
Let's predict.
So number one would just be to fully fund the contract with the utility fee, which would be similar to what we did 2 years ago. The current rate for single-family residential is $2.84 a month, and then in the commercial categories, there's various commercial categories. The lowest rate, which is where most of the businesses fall, is $9.47 a month. If we kept,
I beg to differ.
Okay, go, Mike.
I beg to differ. No, the fees on mine are a lot higher than that. $10, come on. I would have barely noticed that in the different. No, it is way higher.
So,
I'm paying double what I was paying before.
So now you're going to pay even more. Let's go incrementally by what you just said. He says it's $9.47, and they'd like to raise it up to $11.93 for businesses.
Okay.
So if you're paying $947, you would then be paying $1,193. Surely it's not like that, but it's also interesting to me that the businesses, as they do on a lot of things, are bearing the biggest brunt of all this in a business-friendly environment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well,
and why would businesses? Why would you hit businesses more than you would hit? Is there something? Are business owners? And here's the problem that I dealt with. As soon as I got my contractor's license, people that I knew automatically assumed that I had more money than they did. Hello, I can't tell you how many weeks I worked and my employees made more money than I did. That didn't have, when you're starting out a fledgling contractor, you don't know what the heck you're doing, and you learn as you go along how to make things work. The idea that somehow businesses need to be dinged more than people, I don't understand that. That, to me, businesses are the ones who provide jobs to people who live in houses. I'm whatever. Anyway, that's just my pet peeve.
Yeah.
Have today and fully funded next year's contract, that rate would move up to $3.58 a month for a single family residential property and $11.93 a month for that lowest commercial category. So that's number one. Number two would be to keep the rate.
Okay, just one other thing is there's a state law that says that fees can only be tied in to the amount of money it costs to do them. So what they're saying is that the fee for your water service is directly tied to how much water you use. No, it doesn't mean that. It means, well, we would never charge you for something that has nothing to do with water. No, it doesn't mean that. It means we're charging you whatever we can get away with.
Yeah, I suspect that's true because I know darn well that it doesn't cost them what I pay to provide the service to me. There's a profit in there. There is a little question about that.
But they choose your water bill because if you don't do it, they'll turn it off.
Right. Yeah. No, listen, this is the greatest thing in the world for that. Why do you think they want to put meters on your well? If you live out in the county, why do you think they want to meter wells? So they can start charging you for the water that you come take out of the ground. And then if you don't pay your bill, then they're just going to come over and then click a little thing on the meter and it shuts your water off.
This is just, to me, one step removed from that poor guy over in Jackson County who got found guilty of collecting rainwater.
Yeah.
This is falling down from heaven, and he's collecting the rainwater, and that's illegal to collect rainwater because it's unsafe? No. Because other people need it? Partially. Well, why? Because it's free.
Yeah. Maybe I should start doing that, and instead of
Well, you might want to go the route of what was that famous guy that inventor that was competing with Thomas Edison, and he was going to make electricity available to everybody through the ground. It was going to be free.
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, right. So instead of doing that, you reach out and you grab power out of all your neighbors, just like rainwater from heaven. You grab power. It's like using
Dale's full of good ideas tonight.
Free internet or free cable service.
I like it.
Well, but that might seem like a silly joke. Isn't that what the city council is doing?
Yeah, of course they are, but
they're grabbing it out of you when you have. There's no mystery to why it's the protection services that are on every ballot. They could just as easily fully fund the sheriff. Well, think of the children. Every time I go by, it makes me want to cry. Shut up. You could fully fund the sheriff, and then you put planning and the assessor's department on the chopping block. Woohoo! I'd rather vote about that, wouldn't you? Couldn't they do it? Of course they could do that. Of course they could. No, you're lying. No, that's not lying. You could do that. You could advocate for it and be a champion. I can't even advocate for it because you're a liar. No. You could, but you don't. Okay. So back to Jay Meredith, who is also conveniently head of SOS.
The same as they are today, and that would mean $772,000 from the rate structure and then $200,000 from another funding source. And so as far as options for that other funding source, here are some of those options. The $200,000 could just be a reduction to the ending fund balance in the general fund, or we could take some money from the capital budget, from where the general fund discretionary dollars are going, that would have otherwise gone into the capital budget in the next fiscal year. So after the annual strategic planning process that the city council goes through, we use the scoring and the priorities that the city council votes on, and we allocate the resources, the limited resources available in the general fund, to those highest priority work plan items. And so if we go down to those projects, this is kind of a little bit of a preview of the upcoming budget process. But if you go to those projects that are scheduled to get funding next year based on how council prioritized those options, we would go to the ones on the very bottom, the ones that scored high enough to get some funding but aren't the top priority items. Those would be trash cans and recycling bins around town. There's going to be a recommended capital transfer to that project.
Okay, just a second. So
A capital
it's always
transfer.
helpful to know a little bit about the history of this. One thing very important to know is, how did these things get on the list? These are the lowest rated ones. There's the one about trash cans. There's the one about use of more video cameras, not just red light cameras, more video cameras. Expanding the year-round lights on trees in downtown, $10,000, and also enhance Riverside Park, Spray Park, Community Center, $130,000. Two important things is, how did they get on the list? Well, it turned out that if any member of the council said they liked something, it went on the list. It didn't take 2 votes, 5 votes, 18 votes. No, just one person, and it's on the list and funded. Funded.
You know, when they're going to add these video cameras, I'd love to see them, you know, tell us why. And, you know, if you're going to put a video camera in a particular place, let's, you know, why are you doing that? The UK, they have video cameras everywhere over there. I mean, you probably can't go down any street over there without being videotaped. I mean, is that what we're trying to replicate? And is that a project that you do in the midst of a public safety fiscal emergency? You know, and I don't understand what this spray thing in the park. Are they talking about spraying weeds, or what are they talking about? Who knows? But you know, it costs $100. Putting lights year round on the trees downtown. Well, I think it looks nice. Do you think that that's more important than jail beds? You think it's more important than keeping people safe? Well, you know, and
lights are going to keep us safe. No, they're not.
Right, but then you add, you know, into that, you know, rebranding and all kinds of stuff. I mean, this is just the stuff that we know about. Again, you can bet there is at least as much of an expense that's going on that we don't know anything about, that on top of all this. If you went through the cost of government and, you know, brought it down to what it needed to be, as opposed to what they want to spend, the difference in service available would be huge.
Well, what's the thing that the top 3 people have said? That's Roy Lindsay, it's the mayor, and Dan DeYoung, the council president. The number one thing that they said is, given a chance to understand what it is that we're doing, the people would not back it up. So let's not tell them.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Yep. Or if they tell us that they don't like it, let's ignore them. And let's also make fun of them. That's their system of government.
Yay.
It's what Cheryl and Keith do. It's what Simon has done in the past. Okay. And we'll do again, given the chance. So, okay. Let's listen to their wonderful solutions about where they could possibly pare back. Where could they pare back?
Expand the use of video cameras is scheduled to have 40,000 put to it. The year-round tree lights in the downtown, 10,000, and then enhanced Riverside Park. This is a portion of the funding.
That's a portion of the funding.
Would otherwise be recommended to go to Riverside Park. That's the amount of the fee in lieu of franchise fee that is charged on the city water and wastewater bills, just like any other utility that has facilities in the public right-of-way within the city of Grants Pass. They all pay a right-of-way fee, or sometimes referred to as a franchise fee. That's the amount that comes from our own utilities. Right now, that amount is it goes right into the highest priority public works projects like the new water plant, the wastewater plant expansion, the transportation projects that may be moving forward in the next budget year. There's not a legal requirement to take that money and put it right back into the public works projects, but that's just been past practice for a number of years now. And then we've provided in this option for some other capital projects that didn't rank the highest through the prioritization process, but would otherwise be scheduled to receive general funds. And then number 4 is just to discontinue the jail services utility fee and provide other funding options. And so these are the basic same options that we just talked about in number 2 and number 3, but with some additional projects that.
Oh, for example, additional projects. It's hard to read this, but near the bottom, exterior building remodel for downtown Welcome Center, $150,000. And as Dennis Roller said, we've got so much money, it's embarrassing. He did say it. It's hard to believe he said it, but he did. And the one on the bottom is improve Fifth and H parking lot to promote multiple uses, $200,000 to improve.
Wow. That is surprising to me, because I've seen that parking lot, and let me tell you something. I have extensive experience in paving, resealing, doing all that kind of stuff to parking lots and roadways, and I'm telling you what I could do to that parking lot, which is not a big parking lot, with $200,000. Holy moly. Holy moly.
$200,000.
That's amazing. I want to know what they're doing.
As Cheryl Walker said, we could get for $135,000, which is the amount the commissioners decided that they were going to pay through Eric Schaafsma and company. They were going to pay to do that water testing, that $135,000 could add on a new deputy and a car. These guys are going to spend $200,000 on a parking lot.
Yeah, I want to know what they're going to do there, because I don't see any problem with those lots as it is now. Let's assume they needed to be resealed and restriped. So we're talking about, if you're really going to shoot the moon, probably $5-6 grand there. What else is going on there? Are they going to build some big structure, or what's going on? $200,000.
Oh, sorry.
Frustrating.
I'll get back to him in a moment. He finds it extremely frustrating. So
he's frustrating. He wants us to hurry up, and you keep stopping him. That's what the problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, one of the things we know by just comparing, because getting access to the information, we're journalists, but they're not going to pass along any information to us. And if you ask for information like I did, you think that you have a freedom of information request, and they're required to respond within a certain amount of days, 5 working days. So I put in one to Wally Hicks, because the county commissioners say you must now go through Wally Hicks, who will decide how to release these things. Legal counsel? Really? And so I put in the request. His official answer to me through his office was, you don't need that. I want it anyway. Well, you don't need that. So they're not going to turn it over. And what was it?
Well, that solves everything.
That Cheryl Walker didn't like about where Simon Hare was arguing with her about, the role of the chair. And is it okay to cut off all the microphones and stop the meeting and shut everything down and not allow anyone to speak? Remember that whole big thing? Wally Hicks and his legal staff decided that I don't need that. So there's a new rule about asking for information. Now they don't have to follow the law. According to our legal representative that we voted for, now they can simply say to you, we're not going to honor that request, Mr. Matthews. Obviously, you know nothing about nothing about asking for information, because we're not going to give it to you. There you go. That's a new thing that our legal counsel has thrown in. So and the reason I brought that up is now lost to the sands of history. No, the reason I brought that up is you're not going to find out about a lot of these things. Cheryl Walker said that it cost $200,000. Now it's $200,000 to clean up that rock slide, which is still not quite cleaned up. It will cost the same amount of money to enhance the 5th and 8th parking lot. This is money out of control.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish I understood. I wish I understood what they were doing. I wish I understood, how they were spending all this money on the slide and stuff down there.
That happened.
You're probably never going to get that information.
Got to get rocks off the road. That is a road that people travel. You got to get rocks off of there. Are there a whole bunch of rocks at the 5th and 8th parking lot?
I really want to know what they're going to do for $200,000. Listen, I mean, isn't it amazing they have so much money in a public safety fiscal emergency where 85% of the crime comes from the city that we're talking about here?
What was their number 3 priority? You all remember this. Their number 3 priority for the city council was public safety. Their number 2 priority was, do you remember, Mike?
I don't know, but I do remember that the Allen Creek Sports Park was like number 1 or 2.
That was number 2.
Yeah.
Public safety came in number 3 after the Allen Creek Sports Park complex.
Yeah, listen. You know what? I mean, everybody who has a brain knows
it's an emergency.
This is not an emergency. This is, if it were an emergency, an emergency to me is, oh my God, a pipe just broke in the kitchen and I have to shut everything else down and deal with that right now. Everything else that I'm doing, forget all about all of that. I have to run in there, make sure I can shut that off. I mean, it
Mike,
doesn't.
Mike, it's an Allen Creek Sports Park complex emergency.
Okay. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I rest my case.
Where
that makes it pretty clear.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That just makes it's very, very clear.
So where can we cut back? Where can we possibly cut back?
Allen Creek Sports Park.
No.
5th and H parking lot. More video cameras. Spray whatever it is at the
for tiny little lights. No.
Right.
Here's Roy Lindsay's solution. Roy Lindsay, tax solutions. Here we go.
One of the things that I find extremely frustrating at times is that some people who think they are leaders kick the can down the road and let somebody else make the decision. Let somebody else deal with the problem. To me, that's not valid.
It's not even, oh, sorry, Mike. It just makes him tear up. It's not even valid. This reminds me of the discussion that he had, the great debate that he had with someone who said, I don't care. Well, what if they're roasting and eating their children? I don't care. No new taxes. Okay. This is Roy Lindsay at his best. Really.
Yeah, I think he's PO'd at Keith Heck. I think a lot of the city council is PO'd at Keith Heck because Keith Heck won't pump his fist and carry the banner for them on this thing. And they've all made up their minds. But I mean, we just were looking at a screen there, and there's a bunch of electives. That's what I look at them as. There's a bunch of electives there. You can do them or not do them. And if you don't do them, then there's money sitting there to deal with one thing or another. Now, let's see. Is the county carrying 15% of the load? Are they paying enough to pay for 15% of the crime load? I really want to know these things. Let's run the numbers on that. How much are people in the rest of the county as opposed to the city paying? Does it pay for 15% of the load? If it does, then the city needs to stop griping about the county not paying enough, and they need to kick it up a notch. Because apparently, if we're not paying enough to cover 15%, then it's our problem. But if we are, then somebody needs to pick up the rest until it gets up to 85%. Wouldn't you think? So we just saw a bunch of electives there.
Yeah, but what Roy Lindsay is very frustrated because we're doing something like kicking the can down the road with revamping a parking lot. How can we dare kick down the road, Mike? It's kicking a can.
Yeah. Listen, we're talking about somebody whose mantra we know, we've heard before. And there's going to be people like this. I'm not an idiot. I understand there are certain people that they're going to be for tax increases no matter what you do. And Roy Lindsay is one of those people. And so he wouldn't consider striking one or two of these electives and throwing a little bit more of that money at funding jail beds.
All right, here's what Maury had to say.
All those items in the various projects are there for a reason.
Sure they are.
They're there because they need to be done.
They need to be done.
Okay.
There's a lot of other projects that are coming up.
I stand corrected.
Off taking care of those projects, in all likelihood, we'll have a bigger problem later on. That's inevitable. That's just the way things work. So it seems to me that going back to the level of fees and the utility fee that we had a year ago makes a whole lot of sense to me. And let's just keep doing the projects as they come along that are important for the well-being and keeping the people safe. Keeping the people safe is not only just public safety.
But wait a minute.
The road, it's parks,
it's cameras,
a whole bunch of stuff.
That's all he has to say. Go ahead, Mike.
It's parking lot improvement.
That's keeping the people safe, Mike.
It's lights in the trees.
It's keeping the people safe. Well, think about the children.
I'm telling you, you know what? Listen, if we could magically be transported back to 1880, when people said emergency, that actually meant something, and that when people talked about, well, what does the city need? They were actually talking about what does the city need, as opposed to what do they want to do? What are all these elective things that we're doing in the midst of a public, a public safety fiscal emergency? I'm sorry, I don't buy into this crap, and that's exactly what it is. If you continue to let politicians spoon feed you this stuff without you second guessing it, doesn't the argument that we need to put more video cameras out seem like a complete non sequitur when you're talking about an existential public safety fiscal emergency?
Well, I can understand a little bit about safety cameras. I don't understand how little twinkly lights on trees in the downtown section is a public safety emergency that you need to do now and not kick down the can down the road.
Okay, I want to know the net value of the video cameras that they have existing right now. I want to know what that has been, what has happened there to enhance public safety. Now it's maybe it's made the little eye in the sky a little bit more efficient operation for them so that they can watch what everybody's doing. But has that greatly enhanced? We know they caught a guy who knocked somebody's mirror off, and that was very, very important, and probably rationalized the hundreds of thousands of dollars that was spent on it. That was, fantastic.
And for having Big Brother look over your shoulder all the time, which makes a lot of people very nervous. But I defy anybody to come up with the reason why public safety is directly tied in with revamping a parking lot at Fifth and H, that's all, for $200,000.
You know what? I want it now. Now I need to know what's happening in that lot, because $200,000. You know what? I think government just, they're so used to paying 5 times what something's worth that paying 200. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Certainly, you can spend as much money as you want doing almost anything that you want to, but is that really necessary?
You're going to have to rename that parking lot. They've already decided they have to do that. They have to do that, Mike.
Okay, but here's the thing. If there really is a public safety emergency, if there really is one, then isn't that more important than funding a sports park for the Allen Creek area? Well, maybe not to the kid who lives next to the Allen Creek sports complex area where he's just going to be able to come right out of his house and go right over there and play soccer. That's going to be fantastic for him. But, I mean, if we're talking about the needed public services, how is it that rate's higher? I don't get that. So there's 2 different languages here. There's one, as it relates to government, and apparently everything now is an emergency because that's the only way you can, if it's an emergency, then of course it has to be done right now.
Road striping and emergency parking lot striping, these things are emergency. Get with the program.
Okay.
If you don't do this, kick the can down the road. And public safety is not just about the sheriff's department. It's about all kinds of things like little dopey twinkling lights. They're lovely. Can we afford $10,000 just for that right now? Right now? Really? Well, Dennis Roller said, we've got so much money, it's embarrassing. Now, where'd they get that money? They got that from you. And who wants to spend all that money and raise that amount of money? Roy Lindsay.
Yeah. Roy Lindsay doesn't know what he's talking about.
So who's Roy Lindsay backing for county commissioner? You can only guess, but you get 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count.
Well, I mean, has he said publicly? I can imagine, but I mean, has he said anywhere? Because I don't want to make
what I've heard behind the scenes, just what I've heard behind the scenes. But if you guess, I don't think you'll be very far off on this one. We're all becoming more politically attuned these days, partly because we're all looking at it together, aren't we? And what seems to make sense? Why are certain people backing certain candidates? Why do they want certain things done? And and if you want Roy Lindsay as the mayor and the advisor to the new county commissioners, brother, you got it. You can have that now, county government too.
Isn't the mayor up for re-election this year?
Yes, he is.
Who's running in that race? Is there somebody running against him?
Nobody until November, because they don't have a primary. The other reason they don't have a primary at the moment, which is a lucky thing, is nobody's putting up their name to run against these guys.
Now, let me ask you. So then in November, it's just a plurality of the votes, and is there some sort of a percentage that you have to beat the incumbent by or something, or
1 vote?
1 vote. Okay, that works. I'd like to hear some names.
Someone that wants to take that job.
Yeah.
And they need to want to take it on for pretty much a thankless a thankless task when it comes to being surrounded by those kinds of people. It'll be bad enough for anybody to be a county commissioner, because imagine you're going to go and visit with these guys once a month and try to talk some sense into them. Good luck.
Good luck.